Hello, this is Story to Fall Asleep, a channel where darkness doesn't scare you but lulls you to sleep. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that happened a long time ago, back when rats ruled the streets and toilets were a personal tragedy. A story without heroes, without glory, without hope, about a profession that is always around, but that no one talks about. I cleaned chamber pots in the Middle Ages, and it was awful, almost soul-destroying. My name is No One Asks. People just call me Hey or Take That Away. Every night, when the city falls silent, I leave my little room with a bag of sand, a wooden bucket, and inner anger. The moon is my lamp and smell is my road. I am a pot cleaner, not a sanitation worker, not a servant, not a philosopher, although perhaps a little bit of everything at once. There are no holidays in my work. When people rest, I work. When they sleep, I exist. When they pray, I am silent, because prayer doesn't help if you're stuck with the result of the mayor's dinner. The city breathes heavily. Narrow streets, stone houses, wooden floors that crumble like my dreams. I walk along them as if on a chessboard, one step to the potter, the second to the apothecary, the third to the count's mansion, where the pot is gilded, but the contents are the same. I carry 2 buckets. One is for work, the other is for emergencies. There are nights when the count decides to throw a feast, and by morning I collect a biography that monks will never write. Once I dropped the pot, the morning became tragic. A passerby cursed me, then slipped, then confessed that he himself was a cleaner, but a daytime one. We talked. He said, "The night is scarier than the smell." I replied, "The smell is more constant than fear." There is a place on the outskirts where a family of 7 lives. They have 1 pot. I come there with sand, salt, and prayer. The mother always says, "Thank you, son." I am not her son, but at that moment I almost am. I often think that I could be a doctor, a carpenter, even an undertaker. At least they see the end. I only see the process. Every night, I don't finish. I continue. My hands smell even when I sleep. Sometimes I wake up and feel like I'm holding a shovel, but I shouldn't. It's disturbing. Once a child came up to me. He asked, "Are you a magician?" I replied, "No. I erase the traces of magic." He didn't understand, but he remembered. That's how my shift begins. No applause, no greetings, no candles. Just the creaking of the streets, heavy air, and ceramics that capture the entire city. I am the one who knows what happens after the holiday, and until dawn, I am the master of darkness. They say, the higher the status, the cleaner the life. But I say, the higher the status, the worse the pot. Because the nobility eat more, drink more alcohol, and sleep longer. And my shift at their house is like a separate hell. I start with the count's mansion. The entrance is dark, the walls are narrow. The maid doesn't look me in the eye, as if I am what I came to clean up. She hands me a gilded chamber pot. It's heavy, too heavy, as if a week's worth of guilt had been poured into it. It is engraved with the words, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. I smile. If pots could lie, this one would be the king of lies. The count has 2 pots, one by the bed, the other by the balcony. The one by the balcony is for nighttime walks. How romantic. I lift the lid, and the smell hits me like a slap in the face. So, there was a hot meal, pie, red wine. I know the menu by its contents better than the chef. The count's wife is soft, sad, beautiful. She says, "I'm sorry," and I think you're not the only one. Because her chamber pot is like a poem, and I am its editor. Their son has a separate room. The boy is silent. He watches me work. Sometimes he says, "I won't be like that." I reply, "You will. Everyone will." He doesn't laugh, so he understands. The servants laugh. They're used to it. One said, "You're our hero." I smiled. Heroes don't smell like that. I leave the mansion with a bag full of memories. I put it in the cart, sand on top for philosophy. And I go to the next house. Nobility is a facade. Underneath it, everything is the same as with ordinary people. I see what is hidden, and that is my gift. Not beauty, not strength, but the ability to say, all of this is human. Even what you hide under your bed. At night, the monastery is like a breath of fresh air. Calm, but not sterile. Here, the walls whisper and the pots speak louder. I arrive when the prayers are over, but the body continues to live. On my route, the monastery is like a philosophical pause. It smells of peace, dampness, and human helplessness. Brother Luke meets me at the entrance. He always nods as if we have known each other for 1,000 years, but have never spoken aloud. He is the keeper of order. I am the keeper of consequences. The pots here are special. Some are engraved with Dominus Vobiscum. Others simply have a cross, one with an icon worn away by fingers and time. Look into the eyes of these pots and they may confess. The Brotherhood has a strict schedule. Who uses what and when? How many spoonfuls of porridge? Everything is under control. But still, when night falls, the plan gives way to physiology. I collect them in silence. Each one is like a vessel not for waste, but for secrets. The older brothers carry a heavy burden. The younger ones have anxiety. All of them have the same humility. In one cell is Brother Auguste. He is blind. Every time he hears my footsteps, he says, "You've come. That means I'm still alive." I reply, "For now, yes." He smiles, as if that comforts him. The monastery is not the dirtiest place, but the dirt there is more meaningful. Every stain is like a metaphor for imperfection, and my work is like an attempt to approach perfection, simply through a bucket and a scoop. The refectory is the most dangerous place. It's a collective space. The night after beans is almost a theological disaster. Sometimes I see a crow on the windowsill. It sits there, watching, as if waiting for me to slip up. I don't speak. I have a contract with silence. One monk once tried to give up the pot. Too holy. 2 days later, he moved. Not to paradise, to a neighboring shelter. I don't argue with spirituality. I just know its limits. In a world where even prayer leaves a mark, my work is necessary. Morning in the monastery comes without fanfare. I leave, leaving behind cleanliness that no one thanks me for. But Brother Luke whispers to me every time, "Let it be clean." And that is perhaps the brightest phrase on my route. If a monastery is silence wrapped in faith, then a neighborhood of ordinary people is noise, smell, life. People don't pray here, they survive. I don't go there for philosophy, I go for facts. Pots speak louder than streets, and streets are like confession but without repentance. At the entrance, there is smoke, shouting, children, and merchants arguing. Everything smells of bread, fatigue, beer, and something long forgotten. I walk confidently. The bag is already stretched, the bucket is shaking, it senses where it is going. The first stop is the tailor's house. 5 people, 1 pot, poor ventilation. The wife greets me with the phrase, "You are our savior." I don't save, I clean up. The pot is warm. That's bad. It means it's alive. The shovel does its job. The sand hides the truth. I sigh. It smells of soup, then regret. Children on the street ask, "What are you doing with that?" I reply, "Getting rid of the past." They laugh. They don't understand yet. The neighbor is a blacksmith. Strong, sweaty, loud. The pot is like a horseshoe. Heavy, durable, iron-willed. He nods at me and says, "You're a master too." I'm not a master. I'm a corrector. I walk past a house where a wife is arguing with her husband. He can't take it anymore. She is dissatisfied. I take it away. Family life is not love. It's 2 pots and a bag of sand. Sometimes I hear people talking about me. He's strange. He walks around at night. He doesn't talk. And I think, what strange is having 5 pots and praying that no one will come? I am the guarantee that morning will come. One house, an old woman living alone. Every time she puts a pot on the window, she signs it, "I'm sorry." I pick it up with respect, because sometimes that's all that's left of a person. One man is a drunkard. He greets me like a friend. He says, "You are part of my life." I nod, rather, it's consequences. I pass 10 houses. Each one is not a place, but a story. The bag is getting heavier, not in weight, but in meaning. The city is noisy, but in this noise is my silence. I know where and what. I hear when it all ends. Tired, but calm. Because if the world is chaos, then I am its night editor. When night finally fades away, I begin to hear things that shouldn't be heard. Not screams, not footsteps, not calls, voices. Not from pots, not from windows, from me. Fatigue gives access to other frequencies, where ceramics whisper, sand judges, and a bucket seems like a continuation of a dream. I remember the night when I felt that the bucket was watching me. It stood in the corner, empty but expressive. In it was the reflection of the moon, and I understood. This is not just a tool. It is a symbol, a vessel of acceptance. I sat on the porch, a bag of dust next to me, and in my head were the names, smells, and voices of those I will never know. Children, old people, monks, counts. They all passed through my work, and I passed through them. Sleep came not as rest, but as an invasion. I saw a street full of pots, each with eyes. They watch, they judge, they seem to know more about me than I do myself. One of them spoke. "You are not just a cleaner, you are a chronicler." I was silent. The pot continued. Every cleansing is like a ritual. You don't clean, you translate. I wanted to ask, where to? But I woke up before I could. Sometimes, in the moments between houses, I close my eyes for a second, and I see not the street, but a silent plain where the pots stand like tombstones. Each one is like a mark. Someone existed here. Once I dreamed that I came to a house where death itself met me, in an apron, with a bucket. She said, "You're doing well. I'm retired." I didn't laugh, because it seemed like the truth. My dreams are not vivid. They are gray, heavy, but cozy. I can smell things even in my sleep, and that is scarier than any picture. Once, in a dream, I was a pot. I looked at people. They were afraid of me, hid me. I knew they had no choice. I was the end of their day. When I woke up, I couldn't breathe at first. The sand in the bag was silent. The bucket seemed to have seen everything, and I felt like a vessel. Because the more you clean, the more you absorb. I started keeping records, not of names, but of feelings. Today, anxiety. Yesterday, anger. At the tailor's, tenderness. At the monk's, emptiness. The pots became my memoirs. I think, When I die, they will probably bury me next to the cart, to be fair, so that even after death, I will know where I belong. And so my dream continues. Against the backdrop of night, sand, screams, smells. I live inside a cycle, and sometimes it seems that this is not work, but an ancient destiny. To clean morning does not dawn in this city. It creeps up, as if checking who has managed to disappear and who is still clinging to the last candle. For others, it is a beginning. For me, it is a wall. I do not cross it. I drown in its bright corner, because my life is in between. The last house is behind me. The bag in the cart is like a chest with fragments of other people's lives. The sand no longer crunches. It is tired. Just like me, the shovel lies nearby. We are not enemies. We are accomplices. I reach my doorstep. The house is not a house, just a room above an extension where there used to be a barn, then a workshop, and now my corner. There is a window that looks at the wall, silence that sounds louder than screams, and hay that smells of something I stopped noticing long ago. I sit down on the floor without taking off my shoes, because the ground inside is no cleaner than outside. It's just mine. Sometimes I think, what if I were different? A carpenter, a monk, an undertaker, a doctor, but each of them has their own consequences, and I have all of them at once. My hands are a map of the city. They bear the marks of houses, pots, food, nights, and the silence that no one notices. They don't tremble, they accept. I look at the cart. It's old, but it works, sometimes on its own. I think it remembers the route better than I do. If I disappear, it will continue. People walk by in the morning without looking. They are in a hurry to live, and I am slowing down to die. It's not tragic, just according to schedule. There was a moment when a passerby stopped. He asked, "Aren't you tired?" I replied, "I've been tired for a long time. Now, I've just adapted." He nodded and left. I stayed. I keep records, not about who I've taken out, but about what I felt. February, anger. March, oblivion. April, childhood. The shovel lies nearby. I feel that it thinks too. If it could talk, it might be wiser than me. I often talk to my shadow. It is constant. It has no smell, no desires, but it knows everything. When I have no calls, I feel like a stranger. Peace sounds like loneliness, and work sounds like a voice. Sometimes I think, if I weren't here, who would clean? Maybe no one. Maybe then, everyone would live more carefully. My neighbor is a blacksmith. He is noisy, warm, lively. Sometimes he has guests. Sometimes he sings songs. I have sand. There was a day when I was sick. No one